What's up, everybody, and welcome to Reward the Fantasy. It's week 3 of the NFL season. I'm Madeline Burke, and I'm about to give you the most important 10 minutes of your fantasy football week. But first, let me take a second to explain why this is an interactive experience unlike anything you've seen before. Do you want information that will give you an edge in your fantasy league? Would you like to win 2 tickets to see your favorite football team? Well, we give you a chance at both right here every week on Reward the Fantasy. Here's how it's all going down. I'll ask you 5 questions about football topics, and if you guys guess the answer correctly, you advance. If you answer all 5 questions right, you'll be rewarded with a bonus question. And if you get the bonus question correct, you'll automatically split our $250 reward dollar prize. And to make things even better, you'll also be placed into our lottery and have a chance to win 2 tickets to a football game of your choice. If you like the Chiefs, the Packers, maybe the Cowboys, you can see them live if you answer our question right. But before we get to the game, the inactives just came out a moment ago, and here are some names that you should be aware of. Let's take a look here. We've got a few guys in and out. You might want to make sure to adjust your lineups accordingly. The Eagles, man, they're down their 2 biggest receivers with a new starting quarterback in the slot. I think that might be a little dicey for the Philadelphia. All right, I'm sure a few of you are in need of a quarterback. After the recent events, Drew Brees is having surgery on his thumb. He should be back later this season. Cam Newton, he re-aggravated his foot injury and didn't travel with the Panthers this week, but he is listed as day-to-day, not week-to-week. So, to tell us how to view their injuries and when we can expect these MVPs back, we bring in our medical expert, a renowned orthopedic surgeon and former NFL player. Doc, how do you assess Brees and Newton?
Dr. Mark Addix here talking 2 quarterbacks, Cam Newton, Drew Brees. First, Cam Newton, out. Did not practice all week with this left foot injury. I've reviewed this video. It did not look like much. The thing that complicates it is he did have a surgery in 2014 on that left ankle to reconstruct some ligaments. So with this foot injury, with no practice, I worry about him being available next week as well. Drew Brees did have surgery. They're saying 6 weeks. When you reconstruct this ulnar collateral ligament of the thumb, it is a 6-week recovery. With them having a bye in week 9, I think he'll be back for week 10.
All right, thank you for that, Doc. As we just heard, Doc thinks there's cause for concern for Newton owners, but he does believe those who put Brees on IR can expect him back as strong as ever in week 10. Now, we aim to inform you on every level here on Reward the Fantasy. We've got it covered from the medical side to analytics, insiders and former players, and daily fantasy every week of the season. Today, we begin with who to start today. With question number 1, which quarterback threw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in week 2? Was it Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes? Now, we'll get to the answer to this question in a moment, but this answer is definitely a must-start today and every week as far as we are concerned. Let's bring in our good friend, the fantasy consultant, Nate Zagura, for his must-starts today. Nate, give us some players owners should start today.
Thanks, Madeline. It's time now for my starts of the week here for week 3. We'll start the quarterback position. Last week's sleeper is this week's start, Josh Allen. He continues to produce fantasy points, a dual threat quarterback who has a great matchup this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are giving up 23 fantasy points a game to opposing quarterbacks. At running back for you this week, there are a lot of good options. But how about Devontae Freeman? Remember him? He was good a couple of years ago. He's been terrible so far, but I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be exactly what the doctor ordered. They're giving up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to running backs this year, and I think Freeman, who's been involved in the passing game, will finally find the end zone against Indianapolis, and that's why he's a good start for you. And at wide receiver, Tyler Lockett, coming off a career high in targets and catches. He should be the focus of the Seattle passing attack. I think he will be this week against the Saints defense that's already allowed 4 wide receivers to post a dozen or more PPR fantasy points. So get Lockett in your lineup. All right, Madeline, back to you.
All right, so Zagura is putting Josh Allen, Devontae Freeman, and Tyler Lockett in his lineup today. Allen and the Bills are looking to start 3-0. Who saw that coming? Now let's see how many of you guys guessed question 1 correctly. Looking at the results, the must-start man, Patrick Mahomes, is our answer to question number 1. About half of you guys got that one right. Mahomes threw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and posted 50 or more points in leagues as the Chiefs took care of business against the Raiders last week. Now, before we get to who the numbers say is a must-start today, let's get to question number 2, shall we? Let's keep it rolling. Which team's defense is allowing a league worst 51 points per game? Is it the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, or the Arizona Cardinals? Whew. Well, by now it should be a rule that you must start any of your players facing a tough defense. Or a not tough defense. Seriously, though. Cynthia Freeland, our analytics expert, agrees with me. Cynthia, tell the people who's a must start this week.
Thanks, Madeline. For my start this week, I want to make sure you do not forget to slide Amari Cooper into your lineups. I know he's hosting the Dolphins. The Cowboys are slated to win big, and usually wide receivers in matchups like that don't necessarily get the kind of volume that you'd like to see. However, no Michael Gallup means more opportunity for Amari Cooper, and Kellen Moore has been using play action a bunch more, like almost double the amount that Dak Prescott attempted last season. This is great for Cooper, and it also means that against the Dolphins, he could have enough production in the first half alone to be worth a start. So here's what I'm saying. Put Amari Cooper into your lineup right now. Don't forget, don't second guess it, and you'll enjoy those fantasy points on Sunday. Thanks, Madeline.
All right, you heard her, folks. Cynthia is high on Amari Cooper today. She thinks he'll benefit with the absence of Michael Gallup, and of course, he benefits by playing the Dolphins. How many of you guys knew the Dolphins are allowing 51 points per game this season? That's right, the Dolphins are allowing nearly 21 points more than the next worst defense in the league, the New York Giants. And the Dolphins was our answer to question number 2. We'll see the sits in a second, though. Before we do, let's open up a reward box. Everyone who got the first 2 questions right will now be automatically entered to win a $25 Fanatics gift card. Now, reward boxes happen every game, and you never know what we'll be giving away. We've got 2 winners, though, and it looks like the winners are... Look at this. Steven and Working Mutts, congratulations. You guys just won our $25 Fanatics gift cards. Congrats to both of you guys. All right, now, at this point of the season, you might be wondering if your draft picks are going to pan out as you had hoped and expected. One player, though, that has not panned out quite like many of you wanted is Derek Carr. I know that Hard Knocks curse is real. That brings us to question number 3, though. Carr was the 4th quarterback taken in the 2014 NFL draft. So for our 3rd question today, which of these quarterbacks was not taken ahead of Derek Carr in the 2014 draft? Was it Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, or Jimmy Garoppolo? And before we give you the answer, we'll go back to Nate to tell us why Carr and a couple others should be on your bench today. Z, take it away.
Thanks, Madeline. Time now for the sits of the week, the guys to stay away from. Derek Carr has had a tumultuous season already. Lost who was supposed to be his number 1 receiver, Antonio Brown. And then in week 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs had an ideal matchup for fantasy purposes and delivered a dud. So I'm absolutely staying away from him against a tougher Minnesota Vikings defense. At running back, Joe Mixon's got 44 total yards on the season, and it's not going to get any easier this week against the Buffalo Bills. Mixon is struggling, the Bengals line is in shambles, and I think you've got to sit him down. At wide receiver, Will Fuller's always one big play away from a great fantasy week, and they haven't come so far through 2 weeks. I don't think they come in the 3rd week either. The Chargers have struggled with opposing number 1 receivers, but they have locked down secondary receivers. So DeAndre Hopkins, he's a must start anyway, but I think Will Fuller could struggle in this one. Back to you in the Reward the Fan studios.
All right, so Nate is sitting Carr against the Vikings, Mixon against the Bills, and Fuller against the Chargers today. And if you're a smart fantasy owner, you knew the answer to question number 3 is Jimmy GQ. The 3 quarterbacks taken ahead of Carr in the draft were Blake Bortles with the 3rd overall pick, Johnny Manziel with the 22nd pick, and Teddy Bridgewater with the 32nd and final pick of the 1st round that year. Carr was the 4th pick of the 2nd round, and then Bill Belichick took Jimmy G with the 62nd overall pick. Look at that. 363 of you knew that Jimmy Garoppolo was the answer to our 3rd question, and we are halfway home. Earlier, we talked about the worst defenses in the NFL, and now we turn our attention to one of the best for question number 4. Which defense is allowing an average of 9.5 points per game? Is it the Green Bay Packers, the Baltimore Ravens, or the Chicago Bears? Now, let's bring back our analytics expert, Cynthia Freeland, to tell us who she has on the bench because of this defense. Cynthia, enlighten us.
Yeah, so a huge sit for me this week is running back Phillip Lindsay. The Broncos have to go to Lambeau Field and face this Green Bay Packer defense, which is really good against the pass and also really good against the run. It's a bad situation for a team with an O-line that last season, they got their run blocking together, but this season, I haven't seen that reemerge. And with Joe Flacco and the passing game struggling, these two things kind of link together, especially because I have a negative game script for running backs in this one, meaning I have the Packers jumping off to an early lead. We've seen them score 28 points in the first half of their prior 2 games. So they're going to jump off to an early lead, meaning it's more likely that the Broncos are going to be passing. And if the run game isn't effective, meaning if Phillip Lindsay can't get those yards and yards after contact, they'll probably go with a different back, Royce Freeman. So for me, that means Phillip Lindsay is a sit. What do you think, Madeline?
Cynthia is down on Phillip Lindsay, who you may remember, he was one of the best stories of last season. But don't look for Lindsay to have a breakout game today against Mike Pettine's defense. And those who know question 4 answer know that Pettine is the Packers' defensive coordinator, and his defense is second only to the Patriots in points allowed per game. Green Bay Packers is our question 4 number answer, and 199 of you guys got that one right. Let's move on to question number 5, where we focus on the leading running back this season. So for our 5th question of the day, I want to know, who did Dalvin Cook play behind at Miami Central High School that almost kept him from playing football at all? Was it Travis Henry, Devontae Freeman, or Emmitt Smith? Now, the 5th question, I'll give you a little bit of a hint here. The Vikings actually played his team in week 1, and Cook outgained him. Now, before we give you the answer, let's turn our attention to daily fantasy. Our friends over at DFS Karma work tirelessly to provide you with the best DFS insight in the industry. Their daily articles, cheat sheets, expert picks, and core plays give you everything you need. Now, let's bring in DFS Karma analyst and CEO Anthony Carson to give us his top 3 starts and today's daily haymaker. Ant, who do you have?
All right. Thanks, Madeline. And we're going to get started this week like we do every week with the 3 main building blocks for all daily fantasy lineups and finish up with the low-owned haymaker. The first, Ezekiel Elliott in an absolute smash spot this week against the Miami Dolphins. He got up to 25 touches in week 2. The Dolphins have been absolutely crushed this year, outscored by 100 points. This team is tanking. A record 35-point implied point total. And also the Dolphins have given up a league worst 194 yards per game on the ground. Lock Zeke in to all formats this week. We're going to head up north now to Minnesota when the Oakland Raiders travel to town. And I'm going back to my main man, Dalvin Cook. We talked all season at DFS Karma and how much we like Cook. They are on team established the run in Minnesota. He's the number 1 fantasy running back right now. It's early, but he leads the league in rush attempts. And at the end of the day, you want a guy who's just going to get opportunities. It's an opportunity game. He's topped 100 yards in both games. He should see over 20 touches this week. And Oakland has been putrid against the run in the last couple of years. My wide receiver, Keenan Allen, just the stone cold lock this week. He's very cheap across multiple sites, and he's the NFL leader in air yards. Quite shocking for a guy that we like to think is somebody who doesn't really strike somebody going deep all the time. He's got an ADOT of 13.2. He's seen over 50% of the targets. Keenan Allen's a must-play against this Houston secondary. Last but not least, the low-owned haymaker, the game theory play. Hey, every day is a holiday when you're selecting Kenny Golladay. He's the number 1 alpha on the Lions pass game, and he's seen over 25% of target share. It's a juicy matchup against Sidney Jones per PFF, and he's got 19 targets in the first 2 weeks. And like I said, he's going to be very low owned. This is your haymaker play of the week. Thanks, and back to you, Madeline.
Thanks, Anthony. I love that every day is a holiday with Golladay. Now, Golladay is this week's haymaker pick. You also heard Anthony pick Dalvin Cook, who is the focus of question number 5. Now, for our answer, the answer to question number 5, Devontae Freeman. Freeman was a star running back at Miami Central, and Cook didn't even try out for football until his sophomore year, figuring he had no shot at beating out Freeman. Moving it forward, cut to now, look at this. 211 of you guys got that one right. Time now, though, for a special offer for all of you. The guys at DFSKarma.com, as we mentioned, they pride themselves on making you a better fantasy player through their articles, their core plays, and their community chat room. And just for tuning in to today's show, they're giving everyone watching right now 20% off of their premium NFL subscription. That includes their experts' top plays in today's games, as well as access to the community chat room. Just use code RTF at checkout for the sweet hookup. Now hurry up though, those DFS contests are starting very soon. Now, we are down to the end. If you've been lucky enough to answer the first 5 questions correctly, you simply have to just get past our bonus round. So just answer our bonus question, aka the last question, correctly to be a winner and qualify for our grand prize ticket lottery to win 2 free football tickets. Are you ready to win some bonus reward bucks and tickets to a game? Now for our bonus question, we turn to the sleepers, the players that will score big and that might be under the radar. Nate and Cynthia will both give you players who can win the week for you in moments. But first, our bonus question is, which player is the 49ers all-time leader in rushing yards and touchdowns? Is it Roger Craig, Frank Gore, or Garrison Hearst? Now we'll tell you who in just a second, but first let's let our experts tell us who they believe has potential for a huge week. Ladies first, Cynthia, who do you have?
Thanks, Madeline. You know I love a good sleeper. It's my favorite part of fantasy. One game where I think there'll be a few sleepers is actually the matchup between the New York Giants and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On paper, especially with Daniel Jones having his first start, not necessarily a game you're looking at thinking, wow, there's going to be tons of points here. But I actually think a lot of points are going to be scored on both sides of the ball, meaning the Bucs and Jameis Winston and O.J. Howard, who have underperformed through the first 2 weeks relative to our expectations of them this season, are both great sleepers. Especially O.J. Howard, tight end is a really tricky position. Tons of injuries, tons of offenses doing weird things, and ultimately for me, I think O.J. Howard ends up top 5 in the position for the week. Nate, who's your sleeper?
It's sleeper time, folks, and Cynthia, wow, what a pick. O.J. Howard coming off of a 0 last week, didn't even get a target, and he's your sleeper this week. Well, I hope for you that fortune favors the bold. As for me, I'm hoping fortune favors the old. That's right, Frank Gore, the oldest starting running back in the NFL, going against Cincinnati. Last week, Gore got into the end zone for the first time since 2017. This week, he gets the Cincinnati Bengals, who have allowed the most fantasy points to running backs this season. Heck, all 3 49ers running backs were great starts a week ago. With Devin Singletary out, it's going to be the Gore show, and I think he's going to have a monster game and is a wonderful starter as your sleeper.
Okay, so Cynthia is high on O.J. Howard against the Giants, who have been historically difficult, or not great at defending the tight end. And Nate is going all in on Frank Gore against the Bengals, who have allowed the most points to fantasy running backs this season, which brings us to our last and final answer. The answer to our bonus question is Frank Gore. Gore holds the 49ers record for the most rushing yards with 11,073 and 64 rushing touchdowns. Look at this, 167 of you guys got this one right. You're now in our lottery to win 2 tickets to see your favorite team. Amazing job. You guys nailed it. Now, we have big news for you. This week, we've upped the ante a little bit. We will give you guys not 2, but 4 tickets to see your favorite team if you just send us your reaction to winning today's tickets. That's right. Roll your cameras on your phone. We'll double down on our prize and give you 4. Yes, 4, not 2. 4 tickets to see your favorite team in a game of your choice. Are you guys ready? Are your cameras rolling? If you're ready to find out if you're today's lottery winner, let's run that ticket lotto. Now, all of our winners get the chance to win the ultimate prize of the week, free football tickets to the event of their choice. Now, if you do win, and I hope you do, you'll be prompted with a list of events near you to choose from. Now, just make sure to pick within 24 hours. Personally, I can't wait to see where you go. So, it looks like our winner is coming up shortly. We're going to be seeing this in just a moment, but make sure you're recording and send us your reaction because I want to see a Hickle. Congratulations! You just won 2 tickets and maybe you could double it up and make it 4 if you send us your reaction. Congratulations! Remember, send us that video of you winning. You'll get not 2, but 4 tickets. Bring some friends. Bring a crew. Send it to us on our Twitter or our Instagram page right now and tag us in that video when you do at @RewardTheFan. All right, that does it for this Reward the Fantasy show. We hope you listen to our analysts and that you dominate the day today in fantasy. And a reminder that we'll bring you a fresh edition of Reward the Fantasy every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern throughout the season. We'll come on right after the inactives are announced and give you stardom or sit 'em, advice that gives you helps you set your lineups in leagues and pick winners in daily fantasy. So our team of analysts and insiders are all working hard every week to bring you the very latest intel. Join us every Sunday at 12 p.m. on Reward the Fantasy, the most important 10 minutes of your fantasy week.